What's good, everybody? Welcome into our preseason shows for the 2024 season around Middle Tennessee. Chris, along with Joe, Isaac, Scott, and Cam, and KJ is unfortunately not with us tonight, but he'll be back with within a few weeks or so, a few shows or so. But guys, we're closing in on football. We're almost there.
Thank God.
Yeah. We are sitting here recording this about a week and a half away from the last scrimmages, 2.5 weeks from week one.
Be nice if Mother Nature would cooperate.
It's too hot.
Hey, I think Friday and Saturday is supposed to be in the low 80s. So I mean, it's hopefully not going to be too bad on us.
We've had decent days. I mean, like last Friday night was actually pretty good.
Yeah, last Friday night. I mean, we went to that scrimmage, Chris, and we're like, "This is good. I like this." But
yeah, we can get 11 weeks of those in the regular season, and then 5 more of those in the postseason. I mean, it's not too much to ask, right?
No, just no more rain games like that 6A state championship. That'd be nice.
Oh,
well, that whole day.
Well, look. So you said that. Now it's going to rain every freaking weekend.
Sister.
No, we're just going to get snow at the state championship games.
Shut up, Cam. No one asked you.
See, snow's different. Snow's different. I'll about some snow football. I mean,
no. So here's the thing, Chris. Snow means cold. Joe doesn't like colds.
well,
Yeah, but could you imagine
Joe's a
Combs
Notre Dame
uniforms
fan.
with snow
Visuals.
falling? Could you imagine those photos?
do it for the visuals.
Yeah.
Just
come
one
on.
time. You never have to do it again. Just do it one time for the visuals, and
Yeah, but this is Tennessee. Tennessee doesn't get snow.
let's put.
They get the three-letter
back-
word.
They're coming back to Nashville after this year anyway, more than likely. So I mean,
That's fair.
so why not?
Hey, you got a big tent you can go underneath.
That's fair.
And in a few years, they'll be indoors for the state championships, and it will not matter.
Oh, that's true.
So,
That would be nice.
but we're here talking about our small classes 1A, 2A, 3A, and Division 2 single A. And, it was a pretty good year overall. Maybe not the best result for those classes, but, MTCS gets a championship, their first one ever under Christian Peterson, and then 3 others bring home silver balls.
I mean, yeah, just reflect on that. What a year for Middle Tennessee Christian. They had one of those years that it's almost storybook like. What a great year for Christian Peterson and Jesse Perry and those kids over there. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, the season that they had, it was almost like a season of destiny, right? I mean, it was very obvious early on in the season that they had a chip on their shoulder and they had something that they wanted to accomplish as a group, and really senior heavy team went out and took it.
Yep.
And,
Yeah. I mean, Eli Wilson in that game was a man possessed. It seemed like it's kind of weird, like to be going in a season where Tyson Wolcott's no longer at Friendship Christian. Eli's no longer at MTCS, but I think we'll get into it later on. I mean, we still got a ton of really good players in D2A.
Yeah, and not just in D2A. I mean, 1A, 2A, 3A. I mean, you've got East Robertson, runner-up in 2A, East Nashville, runner-up in 3A, and then we talked about Friendship Christian as well. It was there was no lack of hardware coming back from Chattanooga.
No, really wasn't. And there were some good games. There were some intense rivalries during the season. I mean, you couldn't ask for, in a lot of those cases, you couldn't ask for better ball. And Isaac, I know you're a small ball or a small school kind of guy.
Yes,
This has
sir.
got to be right up your alley.
Oh, yeah. Me and Cam are going to love this entire video.
It'll be my least favorite. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, Joe, if you take any solace in it, none of these teams will probably see you. So
I don't know what that means.
that means get out of Williamson County and go see some of these schools.
I'd like it to be known that I cover outside of Williamson. I'm in Metro sometimes, and Wilson.
Dang. Sam breaking out the
How many games
hardware
you go to?
early.
Oh, sorry. Never mind.
I was waiting for that. Okay, let's just go.
Coming to a small school near you, Cam Reed, 3 times this season. Anyway.
For those of you that don't already know, I'll be taking over probably as the number 2 guy this year. Scott is in Philadelphia.
I am. I've been exiled to the north. Against the rumor, they are going to let me come back. This was not. I was not kicked out of Tennessee for anything I did particularly. As far as I know, they may stop me at the border. I don't know. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'll be watching from far this year, but a lot of I'll be doing a lot of the things that you don't see and catching all the blame for the stuff that goes wrong. So.
Hey, we just get to swap roles, Scott. That's all that happens. You get to pull
That's
up
true.
4 or 5 at the same time and watch them. So, I mean,
Oh yeah. I'll have games. It'll look like Batman's cave in here.
Yeah, you'll have to share that setup once the games start and kind of see how the I won't say how the sausage is made because that's kind of bad, but
yeah,
how behind the scenes.
Got my artwork behind me.
Other shoulder.
Well, it doesn't work. I do that. There you go. There it is.
Oh, guys, let's jump right into it. I mean, we'll start with 1A. We don't have many teams in it, and unfortunately, one stat that is not great is that we've never seen a 1A team from our coverage area in the Blue Cross Bowl since we started.
They've come
South Pitt.
Not in our coverage area, Joe.
He said, "Thanks, South Pitt."
Yeah, he's right. I mean, that's Gordonsville's had deep runs, but South Pitt's been right there in the quarterfinals to smack them down and keep them out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, right outside of our area, we did cover Clay County a couple years ago. But other than that, Gordonsville's been kind of in a rebuilding stage. You hate to hear that when you talk about a team that consistently makes the quarterfinals. So, but that is a matchup that went all the way back to the 90s, right? South Pitt versus Gordonsville. Whoever wins that game's got a great shot, to win a semifinal game and make the state championship game. Unfortunately for the Tigers, they've not been able to do it the last few years, but Jay Foster and Coach Jackson and that group's got a pretty good squad coming back.
Yeah, I mean, you would kind of have to think that they may be the favorite to make that run because as much as we talk about South Pitt, that was a real senior-heavy team, and unlike a 6A or a 5A school, when you lose as many seniors as South Pitt did on a small school like that, it's going to be tough. Don't get me wrong. I still think South Pitt's going to be in the mix. I still think McKenzie is the team to beat in 1A this year. But that Gordonsville team, they're in a really good spot. Jay Foster last year showed that he's kind of the future of this program.
He's a leader.
Sorry, Scott. We'll kind of be remiss mentioning Gordonsville without mentioning former coach Ron Marshall, who won their last state title in 2012. He passed away yesterday. So obviously thoughts and prayers with the Gordonsville community there. It was obviously a great run with him the head coach.
Yes, we send our condolences to Moose and the rest of his family as well.
Yep. But to go back to what Joe said, I think that the time is now for Gordonsville. I think that they've had 2 years, of Coach Jackson. They've had 2 years of youth. This team is now, have grown into the system. They've grown up. I think if the time is ever right for a run for Gordonsville, it's got to be this year.
Yeah, well, I think Jay's a junior. I think this year, so they have really the next 2 years. But as Joe mentioned with South Pitt, a program like that doesn't rebuild very often. So, this
Right.
may be the year that they have to get it done because South Pitt could be South Pitt again next year.
Yes.
And really, with that run that they could be making, I mean, looking at their schedule, Gordonsville doesn't have too many really hard games this year. I mean, Smith County will be a good game at the beginning of the year. Forest is probably a good game, but that's not in the region. So, I mean, they should be able to make it to the playoffs pretty unharmed, really, ready for a good run.
They've got to stay healthy. That's the thing. They have to stay healthy. But you look across the region, their schedule is not. I think Clay County again is going to be the closest one to give them run in the region. But tell you the truth, Joe Burns should be a little bit better this year than they have been with Coach Robeson up there. They've got some players coming back. They've got the region for a back of the year and Amari Cotton. They got a junior quarterback coming back. The Red Devils ought to be better this year. I think, they all make the playoffs in that region, at least as of this year, because there's only 4 teams.
Yeah, and Isaac,
I think
go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just going to say, I just think that when you look at the region, I think it's, Red Bone Springs is going to struggle. They got a new coach. Aubrey Link is not there. They're do-it-all player. They've got to reload that program, and there are just a lot of questions for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, is that Gordonsville Joe Burns game at Joe Burns, or is it at Gordonsville this season?
Not sure. Give me a sec.
That is a potentially a tough situation. Chapel Hill's Cedar Hill's a tough place to go win a game.
It's
especially
Gordonsville.
Okay, so that definitely favors Gordonsville in that region then to really sweep the region as we expect.
I think Isaac was hoping to go out there and get a brownie.
Yeah, got to give me one eventually.
They get Isaac's alma mater week 2.
They do
at Watertown.
That's a good old rivalry right there. I think it'll be a really good game.
Didn't Watertown get them last year?
You think so? Yeah. Let me make sure. It was either Watertown won last year and then lost the year before that, but let me make sure. Yeah, Watertown got them 17-7 last year.
I remember watching your documentary.
Yes, you have. If any of you haven't seen that.
Nice plug.
Thank you. Yeah. Love to hate. Go check out LSP Productions. Got a pretty good rivalry video on that, and got 2 more coming out this year. Got some of these guys in them.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Let's mention Eagleville as well over in Region 5 too. But they were 4th last year in their region. Moore County, Collinwood, Cornersville ahead of them. How do they make the jump?
Well, I mean, we talked about this might be Gordonsville's year. This might be Eagles's year, right? Moore County losing Dawson White, right? Mr. Do everything for in that region, really. That region's kind of wide open, but Eagles got to find a way to win the close ones. A lot of close games last year. They got to find a way to come out on the good end of those scoreboards in those single possession games.
And they're going to find a quarterback this year. That's the big thing is who's going to lead their offense. But yeah, they I think that they are primed to finish in the top 2 or 3 in that region. Maybe they get on a streak, they might be able to challenge. But I think for the most part, the region's going to be Moore County is the team to beat there.
Well, last word on 1A before we move on.
I think kind of like I said, this is Gordonsville's year to do something. It has to be. I mean, because like Cam said, South Pitt, they may be a little down this year. They won't be down in 2025. They'll be right back to where they are. Gordonsville, this is your opportunity. And then good luck taking on McKenzie out of the West.
Yep, as Joe just said, it's pretty clear. McKenzie's probably the overall favorite in 1A, rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would be remiss if we didn't mention a couple of those other Eastern 1A teams that Gordonsville could see in the semifinals. A Coalfield, somebody like that out of East Tennessee that historically is in those semifinal matchups as well.
Yeah, I think that while I like to think that Gordonsville's got a chance, to make a run, and they actually do. But getting through some of those teams, like you say, in McKenzie, it's going to be interesting to see if those teams out west in Region 7 make a play. Like, Dresden looked good last year. How many of those come into play?
Is Mace 2A, Joe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dresden lost quite a bit from what I've been told. So,
Did they?
yeah.
So that'll be fairly interesting though to see, how that region, how that class shakes out.
Actually, Mace might be 1A. I can't remember.
Mace,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Mace was at their 1A Region 8.
Yeah,
finished 8-1 last year.
Yeah, they could be the team that McKenzie faces in the semis.
Yep. Let's take a quick break, and we will continue the small class discussion with 2A after this.
Doing something nice for someone, what a great idea, and Judge Sellars, owner of the Sellars Funeral Home family, is doing just that. The Sellars Funeral Home family, made up of 8 different locations, is proud to sponsor high school athletics throughout the Middle Tennessee area, giving back to the communities that have been so kind to us. That's the Sellars way. Thank you, Middle Tennessee.
Welcome back. East Robertson had a close call with a gold ball last December, but did not quite bring it home, and the Indians would like another shot at it. So let's assess their chances, guys.
high, very high,
Very high.
the highest of highs.
Yeah.
Elijah Groves is gone, which that's a big loss, but Zach Groves has only gotten better. He's a terrifying human being. He's a very nice guy, but as a football player, I wouldn't want to meet him on the field. Oh, and you're also bringing back Isaiah, who's just coming off Mr. Football, rushing for over 3,000 yards, committed to Georgia Tech, so he doesn't have to worry about college stuff now. I think they'll be pretty good.
Yeah, and there's another Groves out there in the defensive backfield, Xavion Groves, who's going to be out there roaming those fields too. But I think that defensively, this team is as good. I mean, they lost Dallas Caffrey last year, but I think that they have reloaded. This is a defense that only allowed 126 points last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're primed to do it again. And truthfully, I think Isaiah, if they run the ball, and I think their passing is a little bit improved, but if they focus on just run the ball, they're going to be a terror.
It's a very favorable schedule too.
It is. I mean, if we're going to talk about, first of all, we want to talk about last season. Ending at the state championship game in a situation where they kind of at times look like a team playing for their first go ball, and that's ultimately what it came down to. And I think they will learn from those mistakes. I think they've already shown this offseason that they're more hungry than they've ever been. But we talk about the Groves. Everybody talks about the Groves, right? Cason Young. I think it ultimately he is a huge part of this team. He's got to be able to make a throw every once in a while to keep teams from putting 9 and 10 guys in the box against Isaiah. Now, granted, Isaiah's good enough to beat 9 or 10 guys in the box at the 2A level sometimes, but he's got to be able to make that throw. And he doesn't have Isaiah Groves out on the outside to make the play for him anymore.
Elijah.
So, yes, Elijah, my bad. But those 1 or 2 plays per game in those tight games are going to make or break the season for the Indians.
And like you were saying earlier, Cam, I mean, they were a team that looked like they were playing their first championship last year. And I mean, they were still really good, but I think this year they're going to learn from their mistake. I mean, last year they went through the same thing in the regular season. They lost to Smith County by 1 touchdown in the regular season, came back and almost put 50 on them. So, I mean, I think that they're going to learn from their mistakes. They're going to hone it in. Coach Brooks is going to get them ready to go. I think they're going to make a really good run here.
They remind me a lot of Riverside, like just how Riverside was the year before, losing to Tyner in such heartbreaking fashion. Then Riverside's experience outdid East Robertson's inexperience the next year in the championship. So it's kind of plays off that way, at least to me.
I think Cade Brooks at receiver is actually I think he's under report. He's a great possession receiver. And I think getting the ball in his hands will offset Isaiah. I think that they have a really good chance to maybe provide some balance in that offense.
Well, let's look at the rest of that region, Region 4, because, I mean, East Robertson was not the champion in that region. Smith County was.
No.
Yeah, crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, and what's even crazier than that, Smith County's best player transferred right before the season started, and they still were able to win the region. But that speaks to how good they were in the offense-defense lines. They were dominant up front. Riley Martin coming in as a freshman quarterback did great for Coach Dyer. Got to be excited to have him back as a sophomore. They lose quite a bit in that line, though, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Owls rebound, as well as the rest of that region. That region after East Robertson, the title here is, can anyone else challenge East Robertson? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think anybody can stay within 21 points of them, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, that's the question, right? Is what does Matt Dyer do defensively? He graduated a lot of size on those offensive and defensive lines. So he's going to have to reload or find a way to to get that defense to where it can stop East Robertson. But I wouldn't count them out. Matt Dyer always finds a way to make a game out of it, just about anything. So the Owls, I think, they don't count them out, but yeah, they're going to have a lot of a hard road to hoe, with this season. You look at some of the others in that region. Westmoreland also lost quite a few players last year.
They did, but similar to Smith County, they returned their most important player on offense in Cooper White. So it's going to be everybody's kind of in the same boat, right behind East Robertson. Everybody's got, 1 to 2 good players returning, but having a lot of question marks.
That 2 through 4 in that region is going to be crazy to see how it plays out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we got to talk about the coaching change at Trousdale County, right? So, you have Coach Satterfield going to Upperman to coach the defense, and now you have Kyle Gregory in his first year. This is a team that struggled offensively last year, but it'll be really interesting to see what they can do this year.
Yeah, just call it what it was. It was the Cole Gregory show, right? That's all they had. They're going to have to find some guys. That's just all it is to it. One good thing that we've seen with the program so far is, it's like a breath of fresh air, right? We went from having 18 kids on the roster to Liftathon. There was 42 kids on the roster. So that's a great sign. You're not going to find those guys if you have limited numbers. So definitely headed in the right direction. It's a work in progress. I think everybody around Trousdale County knows that, and everybody that knows Kyle Gregory knows he's a Trousdale County guy, and he's going to work his hind end off. So you got to respect that, and hopefully he can get the program headed in the right direction again, and Trousdale County can return to past traditions.
Yeah, I mean, talking to Coach Gregory a little bit earlier this month, I mean, they got a lot of young guys starting this year. I mean, that 8th grade team that they had last year was really, really good. So, I mean, yeah, they're going to struggle this year. But they're going to get a lot of good experience for those young guys. And I think by the time those guys are seniors, you're going to have to watch out for Trousdale again.
Well, it's already, you hit it right on the head. The freshmen through like the fourth graders is the next big wing for Trouser County. It's just a matter of can we get things corrected in time to win a couple more gold balls.
Yep.
And let's look at the other region over there in 2A with Isaac, your alma mater, Watertown. And not the best finish for them last year, but
yeah,
opportunity for
moving up to first year moving up to 3A, it was a big experience. That region that they had, I mean, they were traveling an hour and a half to some of those games. I don't know how TSSAA put that region together. I mean, Pulaski in the same region as Watertown, but this year it's going to be interesting. They got Blake Wall coming back, freshman last year. He's a sophomore this year. Really, really good talent. Stepped in the Lebanon game last year, so we'll see how he does. They got some good weapons. I went to the against Upperman. They were looking, I mean, okay, but they were playing Upperman, who's for a state championship favorite this year. So not much shame in struggling against those guys. But I mean, they got a really good region. Giles County is going to be really good this year. I think Sequatchie is returning a lot of really good talent, more so than Giles, but I still think Giles is going to pull that region out this year. Yeah, we'll see how Watertown does. I mean, you never know with that defense with Coach Hackett. I mean, we can always expect it's going to be hard to play against that team.
Yeah, but with every other team in our coverage area on the western side of that bracket, it's a little weird having Watertown on the eastern side. It's just
it's strange.
It is strange.
Hey, Chris, can I go back to Region 2 for just a second?
You can.
Okay, because I just want to talk a little bit about Cannon County and Harpeth, just real quick.
Sure.
Yeah, I know that Cannon's had a down year. Their defense is going to have to step up just a little bit, but they've got a quarterback over there. It's a playmaker in Eli Garrett. He's got a good wide receiver in Zay Odom. I think that there's a possibility that they can sneak into that fourth spot, but they're going to really have to battle. And then Harpeth, I really think Harpeth has a chance to hold on to that fourth spot, maybe even into third. But as long as Lewis County's in that region, it's going to be tough. Along with Mount Pleasant, I think Mount Pleasant's playing is stopped really well. Just want to make sure that I got that we saw, that I had a little something on those guys.
Well, we'll continue on with 3A, and then East Nashville's continued dogged pursuit of a gold ball, which Alcoa keeps thwarting at every turn.
Go away.
That conversation has been had ad nauseum for the last few years, and will continue to be had as long as they continue not to move up.
Yeah, and we say this every time we mention this. We're not taking anything away from those kids at Alcoa. No. It's not those kids that we're talking to at all.
Yep. It's the adults.
Yep.
It's the decision makers, because they're typically the ones who ruin things. And I always say, I mean, you want better competition, go find it.
They beat the 5A champion last year. But yeah, anyway, Alcoa's beat to death at this point. We talked about it much. Yep. Chris, you and I got to see East Nashville against Hillsborough on their first scrimmage of the preseason. I thought they looked good. No, Keelan Anderson does hurt. He transferred to Atlanta during the postseason or offseason. Can't blame him. He had a really good opportunity there. But they do have KJ back, KJ Johnson, who looks really good. Probably could have had a really long touchdown run, but I mean, he admitted it's preseason scrimmage. Not going to pull anything, not going to hurt himself. More than anything, I was impressed with their defense. They didn't give up a touchdown to a 6A team. Hillsborough had a couple big plays. Their receivers are very fast. We'll talk about Hillsborough when we do the large class. But that East Nashville defense is nasty. Got to figure out what to do at linebacker because they did graduate quite a bit and Keelan's gone. But that secondary is good, and their defensive line is going to be fun to watch them this year.
Yeah,
and
and
I
I
mean,
think
go ahead, Chris.
the numbers East Nashville has out too was impressive.
Yeah, they had their JV and their freshmen out there, but I mean, still a lot of their varsity. I mean, their varsity team is huge now. They have you and I talked about it. The foundations that Jamal Stewart built when he was there, it's very visible now, and they got really nice new jerseys, and they have really nice a field now that's beautiful. They got a new scoreboard that's really nice. I mean, it's kind of like the Pro Cone effect, right? When you're good, you get really good things. East Nashville's really good. They just haven't brought home gold yet, and you got to feel at some point it's coming.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of hit part of what I was going to say. We can talk about the kids all day, right? Like how talented some of East Nashville's guys are. What a job that administration's done at East Nashville, right? You hired Jamal Stewart, and he builds you a program like that, and then you hire Damian Harris back to back. Like that's 2 home runs back to back, and they've done a great job. And Coach Harris has continued off of Jamal's success, and I don't expect that to stop.
I think that. Go ahead, Chris.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna back up what those guys were saying. Is that it's amazing that that success breeds success, and it really is a testament to those kids out there who worked hard, and the community out there that has supported them, that has really brought that team along from where they were, 5-6 years ago.
Let's look at the other teams in that class. I mean, their region, not the strongest, admittedly. Liberty Creek had a really good year last year, but they graduated some key pieces. So, if there's a contender in that region to challenge them, and really just to challenge them, I mean, who would it be?
Stratford.
Yep.
Stratford lost a lot, including Justice Law at quarterback. Justice Law's right. Yeah. They lost quite a bit. They lost him, but you talk with Coach Law. They brought back a ton. I didn't realize how much they brought back. Breaking in a new quarterback's going to be testing. Maybe you look a little bit ahead to next season where they're going to be bringing back all those kids again. Maybe 2025 is it, but they think 2024 is it now. They're going to have a nice new field come the start of the season. These kids, East Nashville had their number last year, but they know East Nashville is the team to beat. You see all the trash talk going down on the Instagram posts and whatnot, but it's between those two in that week, that final match of the regular season. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and I believe breaking in a new quarterback, as you said, but I believe as of the 7-on-7 we went to at Lebanon, they have not named a starting quarterback yet.
I don't think so.
So getting really down to the wire on choosing that, but it's got to be Stratford. And we talked about Liberty Creek replacing pieces. They're really replacing the piece, right? Brian Rager doing everything for them, but the folks over at Liberty Creek have a great facility and up and coming school. They're going to get kids in there. It's just a matter of when and if they can build a winner with those kids.
They got a really good running back in Mac Tuggle coming back too, so they're going to really play around him this season, I think.
The thing that impressed me last year when I went to the opening, the first practice last year, when I was stopped at Liberty Creek, and there were just a ton of kids that they had. I think that it's going to take a year, but I honestly believe that Liberty Creek will be better next year. I think this year is a growing pains year. Would it surprise me to see him finish second? No, not in that region. But I think that next year is going to be the year for them. But with Coach Alexander and Coach Dickerson there, they're going to be tough no matter what they do. But I think the most improved team in this region is going to be Maplewood.
Yep.
I think Maplewood's going to. I think that they are moving in the right direction. Coach Simpson has got those kids believing. Got some flashy new lids that look really cool.
Yeah, Chris and I went to Metro Media Day, and I talked with him, and he's a Maplewood grad. He was there when Maplewood was good, and they've really changed the culture around there. They brought in all the trophies from like the school that they won during his time. They brought them into the locker room, and they showed like they're setting them. I think he said where the kids can see him and show like this is what Maplewood football should be. So those kids are feeling confident. It's kind of it's a tough region. Like you said, there are 3 teams that are clearly ahead of them at the moment, but you beat Republic, you're in the postseason. Simple as that. But I think we'll see a better Maplewood team this year. It's just going to take time, but they got the coaching staff there now that really should help things. I mean, last year was a rough one, but I agree. I think Maplewood will be a lot greatly improved.
Yeah, and I feel like I said this last year about Maplewood, but anytime there's a program like that is trying to basically find its identity again, right?
Yeah.
It's important that you give those coaches time, right? You can't expect them to come in one season and go from 1-9 to 7-3. That's just not going to happen. You got to be patient and start by doing the little things right. You do the little things right, you start building a winner.
Another one getting.
Have they started working on their field yet?
Yes.
Okay, so they should have a field before the season starts too, which is good because they had some really rough spots in that field.
Yeah. Now they're all the teams that are getting new fields. We talked with them, and I mean, there's an excitement there that's very noticeable. Stratford's working or practicing in the left field of the baseball field. So I drive by there all the time for work, and it looks like it's really coming together. So it's just nice to see these schools get turf fields finally. I know,
Absolutely.
Isaac, you're not a turf field guy, but
I'm not a turf field guy if you can take care of the grass field. If you can't, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, and Maplewood actually has the luxury of I think they have a practice facility, or they have somewhere where they can practice, where Stratford and East Nashville were not that case. So it's cool. You again get nice things, maybe you'll do better. And I think we're seeing that with Pearl and East.
Well, I think it helps those programs because everybody wants to play on Friday nights in a nice place. Nobody wants to play in a now if you're not, I mean, you can play in a pit if the stands are full. You can play, wherever but to have a nice facility, something to take pride in, that breeds pride in your program. That breeds pride in your play. I think it's important that those kids that have put themselves out there on Friday nights, have something to feel pride about, and it will affect their play on the field.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's touch on Region 6 real quick before we take another break. Fairview, the winner last year, White House Heritage second, Sycamore and Cheatham County, the other playoff teams from that region. 5-team region, so only one gets left out. Stewart County was the unlucky one last year. How do you see this region breaking down, guys?
The same as last year, I think. I do think Fairview wins it. I think they figured out some things at the end of the year last year. They do bring back quite a bit, and Coach Hughes is too good of a coach to. They had a couple of really just kind of shocking losses there early in the year. East Hickman lost to a really good Waverly team. I think Waverly may be in a bit of a rebuild, though. So I think Fairview's in a really good spot to make some noise. And Chris, you and I talked about this at Williamson County Media Day. Their schedule is very favorable for them to do something this year.
Well,
it is.
They bring back, like you said, Joe. They bring back a lot, and their offensive line goes 260 to 275. I mean, they've got a heavy line. They got a 1,000-yard rusher in Trayvon Murray. I think that Fairview, unless they stub their toe, they should take this region. I really think the Coach Hughes, this is his year to really take this team beyond just winning the region.
Yeah, it's honestly a underrated region when you look at the talent that's on some of these teams. We talked about Murray at Fairview, the quarterback at Heritage, and you also have Hicks Hunter at Sycamore, right?
Yep.
A sophomore that went crazy last year, and we were like, "Who is this kid?" So, but it's kind of an underrated region. I definitely think Fairview is probably the favorite just because of how good they are up front. Heritage is a team to watch, especially because that quarterback is so dynamic. He can run it and pass it. Hopefully, I'm actually thinking I may get the chance to go see him this week. So get to see what Heritage has to offer for the season.
Yeah, their defense has to get better because their offense is really good.
Yeah.
Eric Lopez returns. He had 742 yards. He's Xavier Murray's favorite receiver, so he returns. He's really good. They got Dawson Springer. He's returning as well. So I mean, White House Heritage is in a really good spot. But to me, the team that's going to be hard for is going to be Cheatham County because they don't have a home game this year. All their games will be on the road as they undergo field construction. They can do it and make the playoffs. Like you said, all they have to do is beat one of the other teams. But that's a lot to ask of a team to play every game on the road.
Yeah, tough situation for them. But we'll see how the Cubs handle life on the road this year. I mean, they can go look at East Nashville for some inspiration because just last year, the Eagles had their first 8 games on the road before their turf was done. So, not unprecedented, but going to be a tough road for them.
Yep.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we will come back to talk Division II Single A right after this. And welcome back. We have one more class to go through over in this preview. It's Division II Single A. Middle Tennessee Christian was a champion, but they graduated a lot of strong seniors. And now it breaks the question, with so much turnover in this class, who's the front runner?
It's hard. I mean, it's hard because I think out of all – you could argue out of all the classes, this is the one where it's like, man, there are maybe 5 legitimate teams that could win it. And it's no offense to the 2 teams that made it last year. I don't know if I would have them in that category. Start out west, Jackson Christian's going to be really, really good. They return a lot. Including Jalen Mosley, who is now healthy. He had that injury at the end of the year that really hampered him, and they nearly still made a run without him. Columbia Academy is going to be really good with Monte Baldwin. I mean, he's going to be in the Mr. Football conversation as well. And then DCA and Nashville Christian are the 2 here where I'm like, yeah, one of these teams could make it, and it's solely based off quarterback play. Mitchell Carey's a dog. He put up video game numbers last year, and Jared Curtis is the number one of the top players in next year's class for a reason. It's just a matter of Nashville Christian can figure out their defense. So it's going to be wild. This is going to be probably my favorite to watch this year.
Yeah, and we mentioned all those guys, and all those guys are freak offensive guys. Mm-hmm. You're going to see a lot of high-scoring games in this classification.
Yes.
Well, I'm not as quick to throw the East Region under the bus here. I think Friendship Christian actually returns some players in Carlando Barton's going to be a really good, solid player. Rumor has it he may actually see some time on the offensive side of the ball too. But I think Luke Sellars at quarterback, they can't just rely on just handing the ball off to Tyson Walcott, every time getting 4 yards, 5 yards every time he touches the ball. So they're going to have to be a little bit more offensively creative. But I honestly believe that in the East, they are the team to beat. I do think Providence Christian, though, is going to be much improved. Ezel Harding's going to be much improved. We talked about MTCS early, but I agree. I think Columbia Academy right now is the team that really stands out to me. And Nashville Christian. I mean, Nashville Christian's added so much to their lineup. It's just last year that I don't think they had any weapons for Jared Curtis. Now they get a tight end from Summit that's transferred in, Pryor Browning. They get a Liberty Creek transfer wide receiver in Brock Taylor, 6'3", 180. A McGavick transfer running back TJ Ward. I mean, they brought in some weapons
I
for
don't.
Jared Curtis.
And we
I mean,
didn't.
offensively, it wasn't their issue last year, though. It was defensively. That's their big thing, I think. I mean, I talked to their coach at the media and Titans media day, and he's like, we made a semifinals run, which is great, but by National Christian standards, when you look at our record, we started off slow. We'd lost a lot of games we should. I think they went 6-7 last year, as crazy as that seems. So. Jared Curtis is motivated. He's very motivated to turn things around. I kind of talked with him off to the side, and he's like, all around, man, we're better than we were last year. It's all the pieces you mentioned, Scott. He said, but defensively, we got some dudes that can play, and that's going to be the difference. And it's hard not to think that the Eagles get a gold ball while Curtis is there. And I think this is it's such an up in the air season. It wouldn't shock me.
No.
Yeah, they're going to score points. It's just, can they get enough stops? And with those guys that they have coming in, and guys like Bryson Holt coming back, they're going to be good enough in the secondary. I think their issue is going to be in that front eight. Front seven trying to get stops against Monte Baldwin. That's where they're going to struggle. And we talked about.
Has so many points.
We talked about DCA, right? Cameron Booker, number one receiving target for the Wildcats, winds up transferring. He's now at Riverdale. And then Carson Sneed, right, committed to Tennessee this week. Go Vols. But you're going to get to see him for the first time in at least our area play what he's being recruited as, a tight end, right?
You think he'll actually play more tight end this year?
I do. He was in a single-digit number in his scrimmage last week. So,
well, that's good. I mean, he's big. He's a weapon, and you would think Mitchell Carey, who put up video game-like numbers last year. God, can you imagine what his numbers would have been if they used him a little more on?
Oh my gosh!
Goodness.
For those that don't know, Carson Sneed is about 6'6" and about 220 pounds.
Yeah, you big boy.
Yeah. It's nice to see, though, that with these smaller schools, it isn't just about running the football. It's the quarterback play, because historically that's not been the case.
Yep.
So to see this kind of style of football coming up and being a little more prevalent in the smaller schools, a lot of fun to watch.
Now, the one team that we've sort of mentioned that is definitely the older style of play is Friendship, right?
Yeah.
They're going to have to lean on that offensive line. And you mentioned Carlando Barton, great defensive front player. He will be playing on the offensive side of the ball. There's no question about it this year. And then Caden Buchanan, right? Last year's a freshman, just come out of nowhere, and you hear that kid's a freshman, and he's 6'5", 300, and it's just like you don't see that every day. And he's starting to get some big-time looks. Hopefully he'll start picking up some offers this year as a sophomore, but they got to find somebody to tote the rock. Luke Sellers at quarterback is good enough, but they got to find somebody to replace Tyson Walcott, and that's going to be very difficult to do.
I wouldn't say replace, but find somebody to – I don't even know how to phrase it, because you can't replace Tyson Walcott.
No.
I mean, they need to retire his jersey right now.
It may take it may take 2 or 3 guys.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Which is honestly, it's not a bad thing. I mean, a little more team oriented. You get into these big games, and I think that was the issue they had last year, right? When they faced MTCS, Tyson Walcott did his thing. They said they're like, he's not beating us. One of you guys are going to have to beat us, and they didn't.
Yeah, I think that's why. Coach McNeil is going to have to get that offense to a little bit less vanilla, or at least add a little bit of sprinkles to it, or little hot fudge here or there. Just because they don't have the Tyson Walcott that you can hand him the ball and he's going to get you 6-7 yards a carry.
Yeah, other teams to mention in our area, be interesting to see if Clarksville Academy can turn things around. After losing DJ Merriweather the year before last, had a really bad season last year. But Coach Bell is trying to get things turned around up there in Clarksville, and then also Providence Christian Academy in Murfreesboro. Providence, of course, still getting their facilities built, so they'll be playing at MTSU again this year for their home games. But that is a program that is being built, and it's going to be state of the art whenever they get their facilities built, and they're in a really good area over there in Murfreesboro to blossom quickly.
I think Clarksville Academy has the ability to move up if they can if their offense catches up. I mean, they gave up. They only had 84 points last year, but their quarterback Ethan Bones was out for the first 7 games because of transfer. He's back in this year. The quarterback they had, Chris Reagans, moves back to his normal position of wide receiver. So I think that a little bit more consistency there. Half a year under Ethan Bones is at quarterback. They just got to continue to grow with quarterback position, and they have to play some solid defense. But I really do think they have a good chance to make it up into the fourth or fifth spot for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, guys, we've had a pretty good little session of previewing these teams, so we're going to wrap up here at the end. I'm going to put you guys kind of on the spot. We had MTCS with the gold ball, and then 3 others had silver. So let's set the over under at 3.5 as far as how many teams get to the Blue Cross Bowl from these 4 classes.
How many teams total? So if there's
Yep.
In D2 single A, we could have 2. Technically,
you could have 2 in all 4, or almost all of them.
You could, but I mean, I wouldn't make that guarantee for most of these.
3.5. You're right there on it. I mean, that's the line, really.
I think that's why
I would take it.
That's why Chris would make a good bookie.
I would take it. I mean, I'll just go out on. I'll put it out there. I think Gordonsville finally gets over the hump. I think Gordonsville makes it. I think East Robertson's pretty clear favorite to make it. I think East Nashville is a pretty clear favorite to make it as long as they take care of business. Chris, you and I talked. There's a very good shot they could go undefeated this year. Yeah. They have a very favorable schedule. The bigger schools that are on their schedule are rebuilding. Mm-hmm. And then I think
it's a very good chance you have at least one in D2 single A.
I think Nashville Christian makes it. And I mean, that was my prediction. I had Jackson Christian versus Nashville Christian, first to 70 wins. Let's have at it, boys.
Hey, that's going to be fun. I don't know if Twitter will be able to keep up with your posts, though.
I will. My hands will fall off. It's fine.
I agree. I think I would take the over, but I would not bet the house.
All right.
It all depends on Gordonsville.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
It really, really does. I mean,
it depends on Gordonsville or if D2 single A gets 2.
Yeah.
And the good thing about Gordonsville is that, as long as they win their region, they're hosting playoff games all the way through. So
yeah, that's true.
That's
and South Pitt does not
even every year.
In recent history, anyway, other than 2 years ago, South Pitt, I believe, has lost like 2 out of the last 3 in the jungle. So,
yeah. So, hey, it could happen. So this ought to be a fun year for these smaller classes because there's a lot of opportunities out there for several teams, and we're certainly not going to ignore them. I mean, they're leaning off our coverage for a reason. So, ought to be a good one. And looking forward to getting the season started here in just a few days. And next up on our schedule, the medium class preview, we go with 4A, 5A, and D2 AA. And that will come your way on August 15th. And at that point, we'll be a week away from doing it for real. So should be fun, guys. Appreciate all the insight in this first episode, and looking forward to much more of it to come.
We're almost there, boys.
Well, we do have some news.
Scott, you get the last word.
Yeah, we have a new sponsor sponsoring our 615 Live. Hey, we have a new name. 615 Preps Live.
Yes.
And with that, we have a new sponsor, Sellars Family Heritage, Sellars Alexander Anthony Funeral Homes. They'll be sponsoring these shows. Hey, if you've experienced the loss of a loved one, you can trust them to guide you through the process of honoring their life. They pride themselves on serving families with dignity, respect, and compassion. They're experiencing a variety of funeral services and can help you celebrate your loved one no matter what your religion, culture, or budget. You can find them. They have 8 locations in our area. Sellers Funeral Home in Lebanon, Mount Juliet, Gallatin, Alexander Funeral Home in Lafayette, Sellers in Hendersonville, Anthony Funeral Home in Hartsville, Sellers Family Heritage in Westmoreland, and Sellers Family Heritage, easy for me to say, in Portland. We appreciate them coming on. Judd and his gang have been really supportive. So again, we just want to welcome them on and thank them. The great company, great family. We're proud to have them sponsoring the show.
Yep. Certainly thankful for their support, their sponsorship this year. Also a new name, 615 Preps Live. We're not live with these shows, but we will be live as usual for the weekly shows beginning on August 21st. So be sure to stick around on those Wednesday nights for those as well. So for the rest of the crew, for Joe, Isaac, Scott, Cam, and KJ, who isn't able to be with us tonight, I'm Chris. We will see you guys next time for our medium class preview, August 15th. So until then, take care.